What's up YouTube? Welcome back to my channel, and in this video we'll be discussing how much I made in 1 month as a virtual travel nurse. I was curious how much I would make in 1 month, so I am super excited to make this video. And I've been on this assignment now for about 2 months, almost 3. So I've got some good accurate data, some good numbers for y'all, so you can see how much money is truly being made in virtual nursing in 2025. I'm not only excited about making this video, but I've been super excited about making the other videos in the virtual travel nurse series. So if you're new here and you haven't seen those videos, I would highly suggest you go watch those. I built out the series from doing a moving vlog to a day in the life during my shift, so you can kind of see what I've been doing as a virtual travel nurse and what the heck I've been talking about. So if you haven't already, I'll suggest you go check out these videos now in the virtual travel nurse series. Before we continue, you clicked on this video because you have some form of interest in virtual nursing, and so I would love to introduce you all to today's sponsor. Let's get it.
NursiConnect is a remote nurse staffing agency dedicated to helping nurses find remote work, as well as place nurses in roles for organizations who offer remote nursing. The roles we look to fill are inpatient virtual nurses, case managers, and psychiatric nurse practitioners. If you have experience in any of these areas, please submit a resume for general consideration. Not only does NursiConnect fill remote nursing positions, they also offer virtual nurse training. Acute care virtual nursing training is now available. This is a growing specialty and a newer specialty in nursing. So they offer training. To get additional 10% off of the training, you can download the Virtual Nurse Overview, which is highly recommended. This Virtual Nurse Overview gives you more insight about the role to make sure it's something you want to pursue before taking the course. Everything will be linked in the description below. All right, now let's head back over to the video.
All right, let's get right into it. So you all, this is my first travel nurse anything. This is my first travel nurse assignment ever. I honestly did not see myself doing travel nursing because I was too through with bedside care, and I talk about why I left bedside in this video. But I was just too through with bedside care, and I was like, I'm not working for another hospital system if it requires me to work at the bedside. So for the past couple of years, I have been doing virtual nursing, and I've been at a couple of hospital systems just doing virtual nursing. One of the positions I worked, I was like a virtual resource nurse, and that kind of led me to the position I've got now, where now I'm basically like, I'm still a virtual bedside nurse, but I'm helping care for the patients at home, doing what's called hospital at home. And so I guess before we move forward, I need to break that down a little bit. Like, why is it called virtual travel nursing? So I've been calling it virtual travel nursing because I was only contracted out to do virtual nursing for one hospital system. And when I say I only do virtual nursing, y'all, my only job is to go to the command center and care for the patients virtually. So what that looks like is, as a hospital at home virtual nurse, the hospital at home or the command center, that is a unit in the hospital. Okay, so the command center is where I go to commute to work, and the patients that come to our unit, we actually get to care for them at home, hence hospital at home. And basically they go home on a tablet or with a tablet, and I'm the nurse that will call in and kind of check in throughout their treatment. These patients are still acutely ill. They just meet certain criteria where they can finish their treatment at home safely. So they'll have me, one of the virtual nurses, and then they'll have a visiting nurse come in and do like the hands-on care, wound care, antibiotics. But they have that virtual nurse there as a support, kind of to mimic having a bedside nurse there 24/7, but you have a virtual nurse 24/7. Because we don't always have a visiting nurse there for the patients. During the evening time anyway. During the day we're good, but at night, that they really depend on the virtual nurse at night. So that's kind of what I've been doing. So we've been caring for patients. They transfer to our unit, they go home, and they are in the hospital at home unit, and I'm one of the virtual nurses, and I've been doing that for almost 3 months now. I'm almost done with this contract. And when I saw the position posted, I was curious. I had no idea hospital at home required virtual nurses. The name is very misleading. And I even asked the nurse manager, I was like, why in the world did y'all need a travel nurse for this? Y'all couldn't find no nurses that wanted to do this. And she was like, she said the marketing, we just haven't really nailed down the marketing for this position. And nurses see hospital at home and they automatically assume home health, which I did too. I'm not gonna lie. I thought maybe it was some home health. Like, I asked them if I was going to be rotating from inside people's homes and the command center. They said no, you'll strictly be doing virtual nursing. So but she said once the nurses get on the unit and see the virtual nursing component, they're immediately interested. But the program is still fairly young. It's like 2 or 3 years old, so they still got some growing to do. But I was like, hey, if y'all trying to pay, I'm coming your way. All right, so another reason why I call it virtual travel nursing is because you know how in travel nursing contracts you get floated to other floors, like you contract for ICU, but then you end up on like med-surg. Yeah, that has not happened to me, not one time. Like, they said virtual nursing and I've only done virtual nursing, and that was one of the things I talked about with them before even starting. I was like, I am not open to floating. I am not, y'all. I am so through with bedside care. Like, I wasn't even open to rotating and going at people's homes. I asked about that too in my interview. I was like, am I going to be rotating through the command center? Like, some days I'm in people's homes and sometimes at the command center. They were like, no, you'll be strictly at the command center. We really need virtual nurses. And I was like, all right, it was a little sus at first because my orientation, it wasn't virtual nursing based. It was like the generic RN orientation. So I had to learn everything that the RNs that on board at the hospital learned. And I felt like, I was a little nervous. I was like, I hope this is not giving the green light to float me. Like, I was so dead set on not floating, because one ship I floated, on everything I love, I would have left. But that has not happened because I am so done with bedside nursing care. I'm really honestly surprised I'm back with the hospital system. But this has been really interesting. And the way that this is going and growing, this is also the future of nursing. It's almost like a virtual hospital in a way. The patients really enjoy it. They've already served almost 700 plus patients. It's a really unique position. So, and if you have a hospital at home program, through your hospital system, they are probably hiring virtual nurses. It's just you didn't know because the name said hospital at home. So check that out. If you have a hospital at home program with your organization, they probably need virtual nurses. I also want to just briefly touch on some other frequently asked questions I've been getting about virtual travel nursing. So one question I've gotten the most is, could I have worked remotely for this contract and still qualify for my stipends? And I asked about that when they recruited me, and the answer is no. They said technically, because I wasn't duplicating my expenses, I wouldn't have qualified for the stipend, tax-free money anyway. So I kind of had to commute, but I feel like even after I commuted, I could have probably worked remotely from my apartment, because they did give me a laptop to use just in case for the shifts I wasn't able to make it in or whatever. They did give me an option to work remote, and I do have a laptop, but yeah, so do with that information what you will. That's what they told me. Another frequently asked question I get about virtual travel nursing is, how did I find a job? And honestly, I found it through IA, the agency, the healthcare agency, and it's under telephone triage call center. Like, when you go filter out like the type of nursing, telephone triage call center, and they have jobs listed there for nurses to work at call centers around the country. So that's how I found it. If you've already taken an assignment or you've done a virtual nursing assignment, could you also drop below where you find your virtual nursing assignment and where others can kind of find similar roles? Because like I said, this is the future of nursing, and there's going to be even more roles like this continue to emerge for nurses, and I'm here for it. So if we can build out in the comments like a resource section, that would be awesome. All right, y'all, without further ado, let's get into how much I made in the first month as a virtual travel nurse. Now, I've got my iPad out, my handy dandy iPad, because it has all the information here. So I'm going to give y'all all the information, my contract breakdown, and kind of the pay package I was offered for this 13-week or 3-month assignment. So first off, my hourly rate was $20 an hour. That was my base rate. So against 36 hours, I was making $20 an hour. My weekly meal stipend was $518, and my weekly housing stipend was $777, leading my total weekly stipends, meals plus housing, to $1,294.93 weekly, and that was the tax-free portion. That didn't even include my $20 an hour rate. So my total gross weekly pay for 36 hours roughly came out to about $2,015 a week. And then my taxable overtime rate for this contract was $64 an hour. So anything over 40 hours, they had to pay me $64 an hour. Now, the $20 rate, hourly rate, when I first saw that, I was so confused. I was like, why am I making $20 an hour? So I asked my recruiter, and she was basically saying like they could increase my hourly rate, but it wasn't gonna decrease how much tax-free money I got. So my meals and my stipend would have been decreased, and then my hourly rate would have gone up, but that money would have been taxed. She was trying to tell me that they maxed me out, or they were trying to max me out on this contract on my stipends. But in order to do that, my rate had to be $20 an hour. And so that kind of made sense to me. I was okay with it. That is kind of the pay package I was offered now for what I made in my very first month of virtual travel nursing. All right. So for my very first month as a virtual travel nurse, I ended up making $9,584.16 was how much I made in the first month. Now, my first month, I was working 40-hour shifts and 36-hour shifts, so I think that also helped. And I did pick up not much overtime, maybe like one shift of overtime or 1 hour of overtime because of the orientation shifts. But I ended up almost making $10,000 in my first month as a virtual travel nurse. So I will be trying to hold on to this contract for as long as they will allow me, honestly. If I can extend, enough times to save up some decent money, I will definitely do that, because I told y'all in my previous videos, the main reason why I took this assignment is because I am an entrepreneur and I need some seed money for my company. And as a nurse, the fastest way to make funds quickly is travel nursing. And so, there are definitely travel nurses that are making way more than that a month, but I didn't think that was a bad start considering what I was making before as a virtual nurse. So when I was working at home doing acute care or inpatient virtual nursing, I was working 36 hours, but I was making about $3,600 a month. Now I've jumped up to about $9,000 a month. So that made me super excited. Like, okay, there is decent money to be made in virtual nursing in 2025. And if I can share with people how they can make this money too as a nurse and not break your bank, but build your bank, I'm gonna do that. So all 2025, we are working smarter, not harder. Now that you know this information exists, you can think about how to plan out your career a little bit differently. I got into virtual nursing. I've been doing it for almost 4 or 5 years now. And I kind of want to stay in this vein because this is the way the profession is starting to develop. A lot of organizations are leaning on virtual nurses like heavily to either support their staffing issues or just to enhance the patient care experience altogether. They pretty much want virtual nurses on every floor in the hospital, if at all possible. So it's gonna take some time, but it's happening, and it's happening right now. And honestly, this was my first time seeing a travel nursing position or virtual travel nursing position being posted. So when I saw it, and I was like, oh, let me see what this is. And I'm from North Carolina, and the contract is in Virginia, so it wasn't too far of a ways to travel. It's about 3 hours. I've been commuting back and forth, but when I saw it, I was like, oh, I definitely need to give it a try. It's definitely a big risk coming out here because I did not know what to expect, but I did not the contract did not disappoint. I've had a great experience so far, and I'll create a different video just talking about my overall experience, like integrating on the unit, learning a new skill, because that's basically what I did on this assignment. Even though I did virtual nursing, this was a different layer of virtual nursing. It didn't disappoint. That's why I'm saying, like, I would extend as many times as I need to, just because I am not interested in doing bedside nursing at all. So this was a nice alternative, and it's kept me in nursing for a while now. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. All right, y'all, I hope this video was informative and inspiring. If you really enjoy my content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe in this video. I'm also on TikTok. You can follow me here. I post mini vlogs on there as well. I have a mini vlog series up right now on virtual travel nursing on TikTok, so you can go watch those. And of course, I've got the virtual travel nurse series here up on YouTube, so you can also watch those here. And don't forget, everything that was mentioned in this video, the links are in the description. The course, there is even a podcast you can listen to about virtual nursing. If you're just curious and want to hear more stories from other nurses, I'll link the podcast below. The course will also be linked in the description, and I'm also writing another course right now, AI and virtual nursing. Y'all let me know what you want to learn from that course, so I can make sure it's in there, because that's another bag hospitals are tapping into: artificial intelligence in nursing. But how does that affect our nursing practice, and what can we do about it? All right, thank y'all so much for tuning in, and as always, I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.